Subscribe, like, share.
Is Nasser a real feminist? Everyone who is born into this world as a human being is entitled to their basic human rights. Otherwise it will have to be obtained through another method. These can range from personal issues to border conflicts. Some of them have to work hard to achieve the goals. Others have fought unsuccessfully for generations. To fight, nothing has changed. Instead of fighting in public, one faction quietly expresses its opinion. Activists and writers from the human race are leading the way. Taslima Nasser is her name, Bangladesh. In her handwritten articles, she focused on religions that mistreat women, and strongly condemned the so-called friendly religions. She began but never completed the task. Her writing has taken on a terrorist in 1994. She was deported from Bangladesh. She lived in Europe and the United States for over a decade before coming to India in 2006. This is a section of her narrative. She was born on August 25, 1962 in Bangladesh. She was born in Mymensingh to Dr. Rajab Ali and Edulara. Her father was a doctor, a professor of medical jurisprudence at the Mymensingh Medical College, and also at the Sir Mat Salimullah Medical College and Dhaka Medical College in Dhaka. After graduating from high school SSC in 1976 and college HSC in 1978, she studied medicine at Mymensingh Medical College, an affiliate of the University of Dhaka, and graduated in 1984 with an MBBS. She worked in a family planning clinic in Mymensingh after graduation, and then went on to train and work in the gynecology department at Mitford Hospital and the anesthetic department at Dhaka Medical College Hospital in Dhaka. Her life was forever changed by an extraordinary experience.
She witnessed a girl who had been raped while studying science. The sobs of desperate ladies will be heard if the kid born in the maternity ward is a daughter. This was acceptable to me as a woman. She offered a fresh approach to women's issues. It assumed both a feminist and a scary persona. As a woman, this was tolerable. She got a new opportunity for women. It took on a feminist as well as a terrifying guise. She primarily wrote poetry in the beginning of her literary career, publishing a half-dozen collections of poetry between 1982 and 1993. Violence against women was its theme. Was severely beaten. She said exactly what she had to say. Undeterred, she entered prose publishing in the late 1980s. Prior to publishing her documentary novel Shame, Bengali, Loja, or Shame, a Hindu family attacked by Muslim fanatics, she wrote 3 essays and 4 novels. Nazarene was physically and otherwise abused for criticizing Islam and demanding women's equality. She decided to leave her country. The situation escalated to the point where many of her opponents took to the streets and demanded that she be hanged. It reached its peak. In October 1993, radical fundamentalist group, the Council of Islamic Soldiers, announced that it would offer a reward for her death. In May 1994, it was also interviewed for the Kolkata edition of the Statesman magazine, which dared to make a special publication. She called for the amendment of the Quran and the abolition of Sharia law, an Islamic religious system. She continued to be condemned by Islamic authorities and faced charges in August 1994. Hundreds of thousands of protesters called her a man appointed by the imperialist power to insult Islam. If a member of a militant organization would not kill her, the capital threatened to release thousands of venomous snakes. She went into hiding for 2 months and finally fled to Sweden in 1994, when she quit her medical job and became a full-time writer and activist. Her weapon was the pen. She is currently a full-time writer. She is a medical professional. Spoke out for women's liberation. It depicts the influence of gender-based violence and its tenets on religious ideals. The attack was made with the intention of hitting the target. It's so serious that some novels have been banned in their native land. She had to be deported as a result of the situation. Nazarene escaped the nation in 1994 and spent the next 10 years in Sweden, France, and the United States. In 2004, she returned to the East and relocated to Kolkata, India, where she remained until 2007.
She was placed under house arrest in Kolkata after being physically assaulted by her opponents in Hyderabad. Then she left the house. November 22, 2007, West Bengal. She was later placed under house arrest in Delhi for 3 months. In 2008, he had no choice but to leave India. But eventually Nasreen emigrated from the US to India. She spent 10 years in exile in Western Europe and North America, beginning in late 1994.
Her passport was revoked by the Bangladeshi government. The Swedish government granted her citizenship and granted her asylum in Germany. She had to wait for 6 years 1994 to 1999 to get a visa to come to India. In 1998, she wrote her autobiography, My Bela, My Bengal Girlhood, From Birth to Adolescence.
Bangladesh refused to let her return to her own country when her father and mother were unwell. India, on the other hand, provided a renewable temporary residence permit in 2004.
She eventually went to Kolkata, West Bengal, where she and the license shared a common ancestry and language. She stated in a 2007 interview that she made Kolkata her home after being forced to leave.
Despite her refusal to be awarded Indian citizenship, her visa was extended by the Indian authorities. Nazarene was a regular writer to Indian newspapers and magazines while residing in Kolkata, notably Ananda Bazar papers and Des. She wrote a weekly column in the Bengali edition of The Statesman. Her struggle, however, was far from ended. Religious fanatics reacted angrily to her accusations of Islam once more. Syed Norur Rehman Barkati, the Imam of Tipu Sultan's church in Kolkata, promised to donate money to whoever had blackened Mrs. Nazarene's face in June 2006.
In 2005, she attempted to perform an anti-war poem, America, before a big Bengali crowd at the North American Bengali Conference at Madison Square Garden in New York City, causing controversy. In March 2007, the All India Muslim Private Board (JADI) declared that it would pay 500,000 rupees to anyone who could be decapitated. In 2007, members of the All India Majlis-e-Ittihadul Muslimin threatened Taslima Nasser, stating that she and Salman Rushdie will be subjected to stringent laws. Her work was translated into Telugu and released in Hyderabad. MPs Muhammad Mukhtar Khan, Muhammad Mosam Khan, and Syed Ahmed Pasha Quadria of a significant party launched an attack while doing so. Nasreen was on her way to translate the Telugu version of the novel Shodde on August 9, 2007, when she was allegedly attacked by thugs led by the legislators of the Indian political party Majlis-e-Ittihadul Muslimin. On August 17, Muslim leaders in Kolkata rose out against her, forcing her to flee the country and threatening to pay anyone who killed her an unlimited sum of money. The strain on her grew stronger. Later on November 21, Kolkata saw a protest against Nasreen. Organized by All India Minority. The protests left the city in disarray and the army had to be deployed to bring peace. Nasreen had to relocate from Kolkata, her hometown, to Jaipur and then to New Delhi the next day after the riots. For Nasreen's safety, the Indian authorities placed her under house arrest for more than 7 months in an undisclosed location in New Delhi. She was nominated for the Simone de Beauvoir Award for her work on women's rights in January 2008. However, she has declined to travel to Paris in order to receive the honor. Right now, I'd rather leave India than struggle for my independence here, she stated emphatically. She was later hospitalized for 3 days, and the house arrest soon became a matter of international concern. Former Indian Foreign Secretary Muchkund Dube, in a letter to Amnesty International, a London-based human rights organisation, urged the Indian government to advocate for Nasreen's safe passage to Kolkata. Nasreen, a New Delhi resident, stated, "I write a lot, but it's not about Islam right now, it's not my topic. It's a political issue." Nasreen highlighted his agonizing loneliness, anxiety, and strain induced by this deadly quiet in an email interview from a hidden police security station. She cancelled the publication of Nay Kichu, the 6th part of her autobiography. Nay, No Entity, and, Under Duress, deleted parts of the separatist book Dwikandito, which provoked the Kolkata riots. However, on March 19, 2008, she was compelled to leave India. Nasreen began composing poems when she was 13 years old. From 1978 until 1983, she published and maintained Shayan Jyoti, Light in the Dark, a literary periodical at Mymensingh College. In 1986, she published her first book of poems. Nirbashito Bahire Ontor Banished was her second compilation, issued in 1989. From the early 1980s until the late 1980s, she wrote columns for a variety of publications, and in the early 1990s, she began writing novels, for which she received widespread praise. She has authored over 30 books of poetry, essays, novels, short tales, and memoirs, and her works have been translated into 20 languages. Her own personal experience with adolescent sexual assault, which she learned while practicing as a gynecologist, informed her views on Islam's treatment of women and the religion in general. Her writing consisted of two related elements, the first of which was her struggle with Islam in her indigenous culture and her feminist philosophy. The social pattern of undivided Bengal was second. It can be concluded that later poems have a connection to Bangladesh and India. This is a public statement by Taslima Nasser.
Do you really think a God created the universe, billions of galaxies, stars, billions of planets would promise to reward some little things in a pale blue dot, i.e. Earth, for repeatedly saying that he is the greatest and kindest and for fasting? Such a great creator can't be so narcissist.
Article starting to contribute to Kabora Kagoi, a weekly political magazine edited by Nasreen Naimal Islam Khan in 1989 and published in Dhaka. Her feminist ideas and anti-religious propaganda gained widespread attention, and she shocked the religious and traditional society governed by her radical ideas and proposals. She eventually compiled these columns into a book called Nirbachita Column, which won her her first Ananda Puraskar, a prominent Bengali writer's prize, in 1992. She authored a weekly piece for the Bengali version of The Statesman, Dinik Statesman, during her time in Kolkata. Taslima has long been a proponent of a unified Indian civil service. Taslima swam against the current. She fought on the basis of a religion that treats women as second-class citizens Islamic with a society. She claims that criticizing Islam is the only way for Islamic countries to achieve secularism. Taslima was undeterred, and she continued to write pieces for India's print and digital media industries. Nasreen released two more novels in 1992, but neither of them was well received. Her revolutionary novel La Jar, published in 1993, received much attention for its sensitive subject matter. It portrayed the struggle of a patriotic Hindu family in a Muslim environment. Originally as a short documentary, it developed into a long novel after extensive remakes. It sold 50,000 copies in Bangladesh within 6 months before the government banned it later that year. Prosper Lover, her other well-known novel, was published in 2002. Bangladeshi author and women rights advocate Taslima Nasreen launched Besharam, her sequel to the controversial La Jar, in Hindi at the ongoing New Delhi World Book Fair here on Saturday. La Jar revolves around the Hindu families who had to leave Bangladesh to seek exile in India because of the religious violence in the country. Besharam portrays the aftermath life of Saranjan, Maya and her parents after leaving Bangladesh and how it impacted them.
Lujja is a novel that has been published in a number of languages. Mera Mayabella, My Girlhood, 2002, the first volume of her memoirs, was prohibited by the Bangladeshi government in 1999 due to its reckless comments against Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. The Bangladeshi government outlawed the second volume of her memoirs, Utal Hawa, in 2002. Wild Wind, the third volume of her memoirs, Ka, Speak Up, has been ordered not to be published by the Bangladesh High Court. In West Bengal, a book was published in 2003 that was also prohibited. Approximately 3,000 copies were seized right away. Many authors in West Bengal have protested the move to prohibit the book. However, the prohibition was not lifted until 2005. Andokar Se Sab Those Dark Days, the fourth book of her memoirs, was prohibited by the Bangladeshi government in 2004. Her autobiography has been published in 7 volumes to date. Amy Balo Ne Tumi Balo Theko Priyo Desh, Ne Kichu Ne, and Nirbashito are among the songs on the album. The Public Books Association of Kolkata has released all 7 volumes.
Her memoir Amar Mayabella got her second Ananda Award in 2000. My Girlhood, published in English in 2002. Islamist radicals were enraged by her feminist writings. In traditional Muslim society, her writings reveal direct opinions on religion, feminism, and sexuality, which are often contentious. Nasreen's work was quickly condemned by Hindu and extremist Muslim groups. Hindu extremists, on the other hand, distributed copies of her book, while Muslim leaders burnt hundreds of copies of her book, Lujja, and asked that she be killed. After the Babrajid Mosque in India was destroyed, there was speculation of Hindu-Muslim violence, and the novel relates the account of a fictional Hindu family who was savagely tortured by Muslim authorities after the mosque was destroyed.
The Indian subcontinent is a creation and vehicle of religious radicals, Taslima Nasser says. Nasrin's life has been the topic of theatre and song in both the East and the West. As a tribute to Taslima, Swedish singer Magoria sung You, Taslima, in God, while Zebda, a French band, composed Don't Worry, Taslima. She's adjusted to television and even started singing. Jumor is a 2006 television show that was created exclusively for it. Her songs were performed by Bengali vocalists such as Fakir Alamgir, Samina Nabi, and Raki Senator Steve Lacey, a jazz soprano saxophonist, met Nasreen in 1996 and worked with her to set her poem to music.
In 2019, Sri Lanka outlawed the burqa, and Nasreen supported the decision on Twitter.
By Taslima Nasser, the burqa is a mobile prison.
Nasser believes that those with poor genes, diabetes, high blood pressure, and cancer should not reproduce. For the Indian Premier League in April 2021, in response to the liquor company's request not to be solicited as sponsors, Taslima Nasser tweeted, he would have gone to Syria to join ISIS if he hadn't been with cricket. Haters know very well that my Moeen Ali tweet was sarcastic. But they made that an issue to humiliate me because I try to secularize Muslim society and I oppose Islamic fanaticism. One of the greatest tragedies of humankind is pro-women leftists support anti-women Islamists. Having to answer to charges as a result of that statement. Then she added, haters know very well that my Moeen Ali tweet was sarcastic. But they made that an issue to humiliate me because I try to secularize Muslim society and I oppose Islamic fanaticism. One of the greatest tragedies of humankind is pro-women leftists support anti-women Islamists. She frequently used her literary abilities to advocate for women's rights. That is why some people refer to her as a feminist. Whatever it was, she wasn't going down without a fight. From a distance, her actions appeared to be appropriate. Women are subjected to her. Hide the violence from the public eye and speak up for the tens of thousands of women who cry in the kitchen every day. She is the voice of the late 20th century lion. She has garnered a slew of accolades and awards. Furthermore, she was shunned by society. She continued on with her mission, undeterred. Her viewpoint has been made public.
She was, in fact, a human activist who fought for the greater good.
In Bangladesh, Hindus and Buddhists have been relegated to the status of third-class citizens. She is the sole Bangladeshi activist who has spoken out about the issue.
Subscribe, like, share.